Okay, so now we're able to draw on our canvas, save the screen and clear the screen, but we can't change the color. So that's what we're going to do in this part. We're going to create a function that'll change the color when we click on the different color buttons. But we're going to use a slightly different method to do that instead of an event listener, just so we can get a sense that there's more than one way to do something in programming, and both ways are equally correct. So the first thing we'll do is we'll create our function that is going to change the color of the shape. And to do that, we'll start out by writing function. We'll give our function a name, which is going to be change color. We're going to pass our function a parameter called RGB, and that's going to be the RGB value that we're going to use to update the color. Then we're going to have our opening curly bracket, closing curly bracket. And the first thing that we want to do is say shape.color. So we're going to update the value of the shape object's color to be different based on which color button we click. So we're going to say shape.color equals, and we're going to set this to an RGBA value. So if we go up and look at the shape object, we can see that right now it's set to RGBA 1988-163-1. That's the blue. So now we're going to put in numbers that will populate in here based on each color, but we need to set that up. So shape.color equals RGBA. We need our parentheses, and then we're going to say a quotation mark plus RGB.join, single quote, comma, single quote, closing parenthesis, plus, then we'll have single quote, comma, 1, closing parenthesis, closing quote, closing semicolon. Now let's talk about what this means. So what this means is we're taking the three numbers, the RGB that we're going to input, and we're going to add these so that there is a comma in between them, and then we give it an A value. So that's what this is going to do. This function is going to be called when we actually click on each of these color elements. The color elements are actually embedded up in our HTML, so they're part of the A tag. So what we're going to be doing is using an HTML onClick event attribute, and so that just like we have attributes of title and class, we can actually have an event attribute, and we can have one that's for when this element is clicked. And when it's clicked, we're going to call our function change color, and we're going to give it the values of these different colors, and that's going to update the shape color. So you're going to be passing different parameters for the change color function based on the color that you're doing. Those parameters should match the colors that you have up here. So to get started, we can say, let's do it for our first color. So right now I'm up in my HTML. I'm editing the unordered list. Specifically, I'm editing the A tag for my first color, which is blue. So after A, I'm going to say onClick equals quote, call the function change color. Now we need to pass it the attribute, which is going to be my blue color. It's going to match 1988-163, closing square bracket, closing parenthesis, closing quote. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to update this for green. So onClick you're going to do a similar thing. Alright, once you've added those in, we're going to go ahead and test this out. So we're going to click the refresh button after we've saved our changes. And then let's try blue. Great. Let's try green. And we see that our shapes are being drawn in different colors now. Awesome. If we press the save button, that still works, and if we press clear, it still clears. Once you get it working, you've tested your code, you want to go back and add a couple of comments, 2 to 3, that describe the changes that you just made.